Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to quickly talk about the structure of the database application in the Visual Studio. So let's begin. Suppose you want to create the database application. At the first, let's talk about what is the database application. Suppose I have something like this in the SQL Server, and all of this data are available for me in the database and the SQL Server, for instance, or all the databases, including the F name, the L name, the mobile, the date of birth, and also the income. All of these belongs to the employees. So I have all of this data and records of the data, and I want to show it in the application. So we have something like this application. We can create it with the Visual Studio. So the same data, exactly like the SQL database, is available over here. We call this application as the database application or database app. In this section, you're going to learn how to create the database first, then how to create the application and load the data of the SQL in the application itself. For better understanding, let's take a quick look at the structure. Come over here and come to this one. At the beginning, let's see the structure of the database app. Each database application needs three main components. The first one is the database. So I have the database over here, and it is the first one. Then I have the application. We need to create the application by the Visual Studio. And finally, we need to use another technology, and it is ADO.NET technology to connect the database to the application. So this is the first step, creating the database, then creating the application, and finally we need to use the ADO.NET technology to connect and use the database inside the application by the Visual Studio. And it's very simple and straightforward. If I take a look over here in another structure, as you see, this is the quick structure of the ADO.NET technology and also the database application. At the first look, it's really complex and hard to learn. But don't worry about anything. Eventually, I'll talk about the different parts one by one, so you're going to learn it easily and quickly. So if I take a look over here, each database application has three main parts, as I mentioned, in this structure. So the first one is database site. I have all of these databases that I can connect to the application, including the Microsoft Access, SQLite, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and Microsoft SQL Server itself, and the Oracle. In the Visual Studio, we have different options and connectors for connecting the databases to the application. Then we have the application site. This was the database site. The next part is application site. In the application site, at the first step, we need to create, if I take a look, we need to create the application first. So this is the first one in the application site. In it, this is first, you can see it over here, creating the database. Then I have the application and we need to create that. And finally, we have the ADO.NET technology. All of these are ADO.NET technology. You can call it ADO.NET technology. So it's really simple and straightforward. Now we know at the first step we need to create the database. In this example, I want to work with the MS SQL or Microsoft SQL Server. Then we need to create the application. Previously, we talked about how to create the application, how to work with the different items, something like with the text boxes and labels. In this section, I'm going to show you how to work with this and also the data grid view control for creating the database application. Then we have the ADO.NET that is connector between the database and the application itself. It's really simple. Later, I'll talk about the ADO.NET in depth, so don't worry about anything. This is the first, this is the second, and this is the third part of creating the database application, exactly like this one, as I mentioned earlier, like this. Okay, I enjoyed it a lot. Now it's time to create the first step of designing the database application, and it is creating the database in the database management. In this example, I want to work with the MS SQL or SQL Server. So this is the result. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorial. So go ahead and install your SQL Server on your computer and also prepare your Visual Studio to creating the first database application. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start creating the database application by designing and creating the database itself in the SQL Server. So let's begin. First, we talked about the overall structure of the ADO.NET and the database application. So let's start creating our first step, and it is designing and adding the database. You can use different databases, including the Access, SQLite, all of this. But my favorite one is the Microsoft SQL Server. So let's start working with it. Currently, I assume that you are familiar with the SQL Server. So let's take over here and come to the SQL Server Management Studio. And this is come to the Connect and Database Engine. I want to connect it to the available servers on my computer. If I come over here and click on this, browse for more, you can see the list of available and installed server on your computer. Currently, I have only one server, and it is the SQL Express 2022 version. So this is my favorite one. And after that, the question is, can I use the older versions or the newer versions? Yes, of course. Why? Because this is the simple application for managing the students in the school. As the result, you can use any version of the SQL Server. I want to connect by the Windows authentication. So let's select the Windows authentication and click on the connect. This is the result. Come to the databases over here, and it's time to add the database. Currently, I can see the list of available databases over here, including the My Company and the SQL. So if you select the server itself, you can see the SQL Express 2022 version. Right click on that and come to the properties. Over here I have the database settings, and here I have the data location or the database folder. So let's copy this, select all, copy, come over here and paste it here and press enter. So I can see different files, and you can see the SQL MDF main database file or log file LDF. And also I have the next on My Company. You can see both the files over here. Let's add the new database. So cancel this, come over here and select this, right click on it and new database. For better understanding, if I take a look over here and go to the next step, exactly like this, the database design. I want to use the MySQL as the name for my new database. So it should be MySQL. And inside it, I have the students. In it, I want to create the student management application for managing the students, including the ID, first name, last name, up to the end. So let's do it. Come over here and come to this. And if I take a look, let's name it MySQL. So this is MySQL and click on the OK easily and quickly. Before that, you can see more information about the file, including the size, the location, and all the information. This is not necessary to memorize all of this. I have two files. The first one is primary, and the next one is log file, and click OK. After a couple of seconds, the file will be added over here. If you can't see it, you can select the databases and refresh like this. So it is over here, MySQL, and click on it. Currently, I haven't any tables inside it, so we need to add the tables. And also, if I come over here and come to this, I can see the MySQL over here. One file is MDF or main data file, and also the next one is log or LDF. Now let's come here, and in the next step it's time to add the table. Its name should be a student with all of these columns inside it. The question is, can I add all the columns to my database and the table? Yes, you can add any number of all the columns. This is the tutorial, and this is indeed the sample database. So I use all of this. In addition, you can use any other columns that you want. Now let's go over here and come to this, select the tables and right click on it, new, and the table. At the beginning, I need to add the ID. So if I select this and put it over here, and after that, this over here. At the beginning, I need to add the ID. So the column name is ID. Select this and right click on it and set it as primary key. This is the primary key, so it can't be null and also it can't be duplicate. This is the meaning of primary key. Come to the data type and select the int up to, if I take a look, this is the int, and it can be up to 2 billion numbers and records over here. And as you see, it can't be null because it is the primary key. And you can see the ID over here. And also I want to make it auto increment or auto generated number. So let's go over here, select the ID itself, come to the properties, and here I have the identity. By default it is no. Let's select this and set it as the yes. So I have the identity increment or amount of increment, and also I have the identity seed or the first auto-generated number. My first ID should be number 1. You can change it up to, for instance, 100. Then your first ID should be 100 and add the numbers one by one starting from the 100. Let's select the number 1 like this. So in the next step, it's time to add the F name or first name. You can write the first name like this, first and name. In the naming, you can use two methods. At the first step, we can use the uppercase for the first letter of each part. For instance, the uppercase F for the first, uppercase N for the name. In addition, you can use the next one and write first underscore name. You can use this method or the next one. You are completely free. Let's select the first, then the name like this. So the N and the F is uppercase. And its type should be variable. So let's select the N varchar up to 50 letters. It can be the variable length up to 50 letters. So it's enough, I think, up to 50 letters for the first name. To split my tutorial, let's copy this and paste it over here. And the next one is last name. So this is last name. Let's name it, and it is up to 50 characters. Let's assign it up to, for instance, 70 characters. I have used the n varchar because I want to add the Unicode characters. So the n means Unicode characters. And also I want to add the variable characters. For instance, one name maybe has up to 10 letters, or the next one up to 20 letters or 30 letters. So it is variable characters and the Unicode variable characters because of the n at the beginning. N means Unicode, and it can be null. So check this checkbox. And the next one is the date of birth or DOB. I can name it DOB or date of birth. So cover here, and here I have the date. So you can freely use the date over here. And after that, I have the grade. The grade is number. So it is between 1 up to 12. As the result, I can select this, for instance, and come to this and name it the grade. This is my grade. Also, you can use the character. As the result, you can name it nvarchar. You are completely free to select anything that you want. As I mentioned, the grade is the number between 1 up to 12. So we don't need to use the int. Instead of that, if I search the Google, come over here and search for the different data types or the numeric data types in the SQL. So I have the big int, it's a really big number. And also I have the int. It is between negative 2 billion up to positive 2 billion. And also I have the small int between negative 32,000 up to positive 32,000. And finally, I have the tiny int, the numbers between the 0 up to 255. So this is great for us because my number is between 1 up to 12. So come here and select this and name it the tiny int This is the tiny int. And the question is, can I use all the data types? For instance, the bigger one, something like the small int. Yes, you can, but it's not necessary to do that. It's better to use the appropriate data type for the sake of the size of database. Now let's come over here and come to this one, and in the next step I need to add the class. The class is a string or the text. So let's copy this and paste it over here. For instance, class A, class B, class G1, class G2 up to the end. And it is the class. This is the class, and I can set it up to, for instance, 20, like this. You are completely free to select any number that you want, but my favorite one in this example is 20 characters, or the 20 Unicode characters. And the next one is mobile, or the cell number. So let's copy this and come to this and name it the mobile. You can write the cell number or the landline. You are completely free. So this is the mobile. Sometimes we need to add the special characters, for instance, like this, then add the hyphen or add the parenthesis and write some number inside it. As the result, we can't use the number data type for the mobile. And the best option is nvarchar. So nvarchar up to, for instance, 30 or 50 for multiple mobile numbers. And it is the Unicode, so I use the nvarchar. The next one is email. The email is something like the mobile. So let's copy that and paste it over here and name it email. And it is this, I think, is enough. And the next one, if I take a look, is address. So let's copy this and paste over here and name it the address. And add it up to, for instance, 300 or 400. And this is the address, so we need a lot of characters inside it. And after that, I have the comment. So let's copy the address and paste over here. The comment up to, for instance, 200 based on our needs. 200. And finally, we have the rec information for saving the registration data, including the register user, the date of registration, the time of registration. So we need to add 3 different columns over here. And let's select the email first and come to this and paste it and name it rec date. So this is the rec date, or we can name it rec user based on this order, rec user. And it is up to nvarchar 50 characters. It's enough, I think. And after that, I can come over here and name it the rec date, like this. This is the date. So it's a really great idea to use the date data type over here. And after that, I have the rec time. So let's select this and copy and paste over here, rec time. So this is the time. It's a really great idea to come over here and select the time, like this, time 7. Currently, I assume that you are familiar with all of this. If you don't know anything about it, you can watch this video multiple times to learn deeply. So this is the last one, and is it the rec time, the rec date? Let's check all of this one by one. Rec user and the address, and I have another one, and this is indeed the address one. Let's change it to comment, and this is the comment indeed. And the next one is address, the email, the mobile, the class, the grade, date of birth, last name, first name, and the ID. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So everything is great and amazing. Now let's save the table itself, and its name is students. So students, like this, and click OK. So it's added, and if I take a look over here, the tables currently it is empty. Right click on it, refresh. So I have the students over here. And in this step, if I right click on it and select top records, as you see, it is completely empty and I haven't any record inside it. We need to add some sample data for better results in the application design. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Welcome back. Now let's talk about how we can add the sample data inside my table. So come here and come to this one. This is the students, right click on it and come to the edit records easily and quickly. In the different versions of the SQL server, you need to check which one is edit. So in this version 2022, it is edit top records over here. After a couple of seconds, it is ready. The ID, as I mentioned, is auto increment. So let's leave it. The next one is first name. Let's name it, for instance, the Bob. The next one is Peterson. And date of birth. Date of birth is really special. Why? Because we need to use the correct format. Let's name it, for instance, 2023 hyphen or the slash like this. And after that, the month is 10. Then the day is, for instance, 15. And click over here. So in this example, the first part is the year. The next one is the month. And the next one is the day. And if I click over here, it's saved without any problem. But if I take a look over here and come to this, or let's add the next one over here and say 2023, the hyphen, then the 15 over here, and after that the 09. Now if I click over here, you can see invalid value for cell. Why? Because the value is not recognized as the valid date time. You can see the date time over here. It means the format is not correct. So we need to change it and everything will be done. So the grade, if I take a look over here, the grade data type, we need to add the appropriate data. So the grade is tiny int. As the result, let's name it, for instance, 3, grade 3. The class is G2 or G3, for instance. And the next one is cell number, and let's name it like this. Cell number, email, the test at gmail.com. Resize it a little bit, and this one also. And the next one is address. Let's name it like this. The comment, this, and the reg user. Let's name it Sarah. The username and the date. The date is exactly like this, so let's copy this and paste over here and change it. For instance, up to 12, and this one up to 25. And the reg time. So the reg time is really simple. Let's name it, for instance, 13 colon 40, and let's leave the second. You can see the second is 0 over here, and if I resize it a little bit, is not important matter. So everything is done. Now I added successfully one record. As I mentioned, the most important one is the date. You need to use the appropriate and correct format for the date. And after that, if I take a look in the date and add something else, for instance 24, the day slash, then the 10, the month, and the year 2023. So this is the day, month, and the year. And if I click over here, you can see it's not recognized as the valid.NET Framework date time. So it's not valid. It means I need to change it. For instance, let's name it 12 and name this one as 20. And let's check it. So it's worked without any problem. Now I can easily come over here and add the next name, for instance, the John and the Johnson. This is the date, and the grade is 12 and GR12, for instance, or the cell number, and also this is the email. Let's name it test1, address, comment, and the user is Sarah, exactly like previous one. And this is the date. I can change it up to, for instance, 10 and the date. But if I take a look, it's not correct. Yes, it's not correct because it is 120. And the next one is 2303. So it's done. Now it's time to add the remaining items like this one. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Welcome back. Now I added up to 8 different records over here. Also, as you see over here, I have some null values, and the adding the null is really simple and straightforward. For instance, this is the lead, just write uppercase null like this. Null. Also, I can come over here and click on the next one, and let's use the lowercase like this. The lowercase, and if I take a look, so it's saved without any problem. And let's come over here and say gently, easily, and quickly. Congratulations, now my mission is accomplished successfully. Now I have the database, my SQL, and also I have the students table and all of these items over here. So in the next step, it's time to start using it. As I mentioned previously, if I take a look, currently I have the database. You can see it over here. In the next step, we need to design the application, and inside it, use the edu.NET technology. In it, we successfully added the first step and the database. So let's talk about the next and upcoming steps in the future videos. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start creating the database application using the VB.NET in Visual Studio to load the data from the SQL. So let's begin. Firstly, we talked about how to create the database, and it is something like this. And the next step is time to create the application, something like this application to load the data. To do that, we need to use the Visual Studio plus the VB.NET. Indeed, we are over here. We have created the database. Then we need to create the application and start working with the edu.NET to load the data inside the application itself. So let's come over here and come to the Visual Studio. You have two options. First, you can come to the file and close the solution and create the new solution and add the project inside it. Or you can come to the solution and existing solution, right click on it and add the project inside the existing solution. So let's select the new project. Over here, we need to select the project type. So come over here and select the Visual Basic for the Windows and desktop applications. As you see over here, I have the Windows Forms application with the .NET Core technology. This is the .NET Core technology. Also, I have another one, and it is the .NET Framework technology. The .NET Framework, as I mentioned, is the older version. So personally, I prefer to use the newer version, and it is the .NET Core technology over here. Windows Forms app, Visual Basic, Windows Desktop. Come to the next. In this window, we need to write the appropriate name for the project. So let's name it School Pro, and it is inside the solution folder over here. Come to the next. After a couple of seconds, in this window, we need to select the engine or the framework of the project. By default, it is the .NET Core 7.0, or you can select the older version. You know what? This is the simple database application. So you can select any .NET Core version that you want, the older one or the newer one. I select this, come to the create. So the project is created over here. Let's close this and come to the form one. I want to delete the form one. So let's select this, right click. If you can't delete this, don't worry about anything, just select the project itself, School Pro, right click on it and set it as a startup project. And the next step, come to the save and save everything, get inside the build and rebuild the project. After a couple of seconds, everything will be rebuilt automatically, so it's done. Now let's select the form one itself, right click on it and delete that and click OK. So the form one is deleted. Now let's select this, the project itself, right click on it, add. I want to add the new form, so new item or the form from here. And indeed, I want to add the student registration form. So I use a student reg, uppercase R, uppercase S, and add it to the project. So after a couple of seconds, it will be done. Now let's select the form is created, resize it up to here, for instance, come to the properties and sort by the name and come over here. This is the text, change it up to this one and come to the start position, set it to the center screen. And also I don't want to show the icon, so let's set it to the false. Now I haven't any icon over here. And also let's uncheck the minimize and also the maximize box. Now I have only the close button over here. So we have indeed something like this form. I want to add the form to add all of these items at the top, at the middle, and also at the bottom. So it's time to complete my project. Let's select this and resize it up to here and save everything. In the next step, it's time to change the startup form. Previously, we talked about this matter. So let's select the project, come to the show all files, and after that, I have the my project, expand that, application, my app, click on it. So over here, I need to change the main form. So I have the student rec, copy that, and paste over here. After changing the main form, if I get inside the designer, so inside the designer, if I take a look, you can see the main form is changed to the SQL Pro student rec, exactly this one. Now let's save everything, and if I save this and if I run the application, I can see the great and amazing result. Let's be patient. So this is the student rec form, that is the startup form. So it's done. In the next step, if I take a look in the structure, we have the database and also we have created the application. In the next step, we need to add the ADO.NET technology. The first and the most important part of the ADO.NET is the dataset. The dataset is something like the database, but in the memory of the application. So in the previous tutorial, we talked about how to add the database, then add the table inside it. This is my database and the table inside it. We have something like this structure, but in the memory of the application. So let's do it. Come over here and come to the application over here. Before doing anything, it's really great idea to add the folder for the dataset. Indeed, I want to create the dataset, and this is my dataset. And everything will be inside the dataset. Later, I'll show you how to add the binding to load the data and show it in the form itself. It's a really simple and a straightforward structure. So come over here and come to the application, select the project itself, add, and after that, the new folder. Name it the DS, uppercase D, then lowercase s. It stands for dataset. And after that, I can come over here, right click on it, add, and the new item. I want to add my first dataset. So this is the data, select that, and the dataset. Name it anything that you want. I can say SQL DS or dataset and add it to the project like this. After a couple of seconds, the dataset will be added over here. As you see, the dataset has different files. So if you right click on it and open containing folder, by default, the dataset has all of these files, including the designer, XSC, XSC, and XSS. If I take a look, this is the XSC. You can see it is completely empty because we haven't any table and data table inside it. And if I click on the designer, you can see the auto-generated code by the Visual Studio. So never change anything manually inside the designer. Also, I have the empty XSC because I haven't any data table. And also the XSS is empty because we haven't any data table. Later, I'll show you how to add the data table to the dataset. As I mentioned, the dataset is inside the memory of application. But if I take a look, this is the database. First, we talked about it and the location of saving the database. So if you select the database itself, right click on it, come to the properties. And after a couple of seconds, yes, great. Come to the files. And here you can see the location of the database file. Let's select this copy, come to this one and click on this and paste it over here and press enter. As you see, I have the MySQL and I have two files. So this is the physical file for saving the data, but the data set is not the physical. And after running the application, and if I come over here and rebuild the project, this is after rebuilding it, the dataset files will be included inside the application. And if I right click over here, open containing folder, get inside the SQL Pro, bin, debug, and the .NET. So I have the executable file over here, but I can't see any XSD files over here because, as I mentioned, the dataset will be executed inside the memory of the application, and we can get access to it using the different methods and properties of the dataset. So this is the result. I can't see any dataset. As I mentioned, we can get access to it by the methods and properties. So this was the quick tour about the dataset and a starting point of the Edu.NET technology. So we are over here. We have created the dataset. And the next step is time to add the tables one by one over here. Then load the data and show it inside the application. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorial. Go ahead, create your project and start adding the dataset. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start adding the data table by using the table adapter and the connection inside the dataset. So let's begin. Till now, we talked about how to create the database, and this is my database. And after that, how to create our project, and this is my project, and also how to add the dataset. So I have the dataset over here. As I mentioned, the dataset is a kind of mirror or the clone of the database. So all of the tables should be inside the dataset and over here. We call the tables as the data table. For each table inside the SQL server, we have the appropriate data table over here. So if I take a look over here, for instance, for each table, currently I have only the students table. So we need to add the students data table inside the dataset one by one. The process of adding it is really simple and automatic by the table adapter. Then we're going to use the table adapter to execute these queries or commands to load the data, add the data, update the data, and also delete the data. Later and eventually I'll talk about how to work with the query, so don't worry about anything. Now let's come over here and come to the next step, and let's start adding the table adapter. Come over here and come to this one. Before doing anything, right click on the dataset and table adapter. At the first step, we need to add the connection. The connection tells the table adapter the location of the database, the server name, username, and the password. So come over here and come to this one and new connection. By default, I have the data source. It is Microsoft SQL Server and the Microsoft SQL client. Come to the change. Currently, I have all of these options, but let's select the Microsoft SQL Server. And in this combo box, I have different options. Let's select the Microsoft SQL client because this is the .NET Core technology provider, SQL client, like this. And click OK. So it's done. In the next step, it's time to add the server name. Come to the SQL server and let's select this one. Indeed, I want to get access to my PC SQL server. This is my server name. So if I click over here, database engine, I can copy it from here easily and quickly come to the Visual Studio and paste over here. I want to work with the Windows authentication, so we don't need to add the username or password. Also, you can use the SQL Server authentication and add your username password, but personally, I prefer to use the Windows authentication. Come to the next. In this combo box, if your connection is succeeded, then you can get access to the existing databases, including the MySQL, My Company, and SQL. And if I take a look over here, I have the my company, MySQL, and also the SQL. So it's done and my connection is successful. I want to connect it to the MySQL. So let's select the MySQL and test connection. Test connection succeeded. It means all of these are correct and click OK easily and quickly. So after a couple of seconds, my new connection is added over here. My PC SQL Express, MySQL DBO. Show connection, and as you see, if I take a look and let's resize it up to here. Great. So I have the data source and it is my server name. And after that, my SQL, it is my database name. Now come to the next, and this is in this step I want to work with the SQL queries or SQL statements. As I mentioned, the table adapter uses the SQL queries for adding, editing, updating, and deleting the records of the data inside the database. So the table adapter, based on the changes inside the data table, will execute one of these queries and save back the data inside the database. So come here and come to this one, go to the next. In this text box, we need to add the select query to select the columns and load the data. So I can come over here, get inside the SQL server and come to this, the MySQL, the students, right click on it, select records. I can copy all of this, the select query that is executed to select all of these columns up to here. I don't need to use up to 1000 records, so I can easily delete that. And the result is like this. Select ID, first name up to the end from MySQL, DBO, and the student. So I need to copy this and paste it over here easily and quickly. So it's done, and we need to get inside the next easily. And after a couple of seconds, I can go to the next one, and you can see all of these are generated automatically. This was the simple method. In addition, we have the advanced method, and it is using the query builder. The query builder, before using it, let's select this and delete that entirely. Come to the query builder. In the query builder, at the first step, we need to add the table. I want to add the students table. Indeed, this is students table. This is. So come over here and students, add it. If you can't see your students table over here, it means refresh that. So let's select this and add it and close this. This is the query builder, the location that you can create your own custom query easily and quickly. So it has 4 windows, 4 parts or 4 panes. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the top, I have all of these options. And if I select, for instance, all columns, so based on your selection, the next one is generated and also the next. And if I execute the query, so based on this query, I have all of this data over here. You can see the data is loaded, exactly this data over here. Now in the next step, I can click OK, and you can see it's added over here. But in the next time, if I click on the query builder, then the query is generated completely like this. Indeed, this one is exactly like the similar one without any problem. So let's select this and delete that entirely. Now I haven't anything over here. Right click on it and add table like this students and add it over here. So I can add the items one by one, and if you can get access to this, right click on it, pane or part, diagram. Then if I take a look, pane criteria, the pane, the SQL, the pane, and the result is over here. So let's set it back, the diagram. The next one is criteria, and the next one is SQL. So let's select the columns that we want to load inside the application. For instance, I want to load all of these columns. So let's select the ID, the first name, the last name, the date of birth, the grade, the class. And after that, I have the mobile, the email, address, comment, rec user, rec date, and rec time. This is the first query. So you need to select all of these one by one. Based on your selection, the codes will be generated over here. You can see the select query, and as you see, all of these are generated over here. And also it's added to this pane, and you can see it over here. Let's select this. Great. The ID, the first name, the last name, up to the end. If you change anything over here or here or over here, then the results will be changed in the different panes. For instance, if I delete the ID from here like this, then the result is, if I execute the query, you can see the ID is deleted from here, and also the ID is unchecked from this one. Or even if I check this back, then the ID is added over here, and let's execute the query. So the ID is added, and if I take a look, where are you ID? If you can see the ID, no worry. And if I take a look, the ID is unchecked, no worries. Let's check it one more time, back like this. So the ID is added over here, and based on it, if I take a look, the ID is added over here. All of these are available. So let's select this and delete it entirely, and come over here, right click on it, add table, and add it. Now let's select the columns one by one easily and quickly like this. So let's select this and also all of this one by one. And also we can change the order. For instance, I can change the order, the first name, I can cut that. And if I do it one more time, cut the first name and paste it over here. So in the result, you can see the changes. The last name is over here, then the first name, and you can see the first name is added over here. No worries. I can also cut this and paste it over here without any problem like this. So it's added the first name, the last name. And also the changes is reflected over here, the last name, the first name. Then I have the check selection over here. So let's select this, the first name, cut that, and paste it over here like this, the first name and the last name. Now let's execute the query, and the first name, the last name. Also, you can select this and right click on it, delete, cut, copy, and all of these are available over here. So this was the quick tour about the query builder. I love the query builder because it gives me a lot of tools and features for generating my own query. Now my select query is selected and generated over here. Click OK. So you can see the select query over here. As I mentioned, we need to select all of the columns one by one over here. Now in the advanced options, I have three different checkboxes to generate automatically the insert, update, delete. You know what? If you wanna save back the changes inside the database, indeed come to this one and add the new record. I want to add the new record to the database. For instance, I want to add the new record to the database, or I want to edit or delete. Then we need to execute the different queries by the table adapter. So at the first step, we need to create the select query. Then based on the select query, the table adapter automatically will generate the insert query for adding the new record, update query for editing and saving back the changes to the database, and delete query for deleting the records from the database directly. So all of these are automatically generated based on the select query. It's a really important matter. So come over here and come to this one. Do you want to generate automatically the insert, update, and delete queries? Yes, do it. Do you want to add more guards to it? Yes, add it. Do you want to load the data after the insert and update? Yes, check this checkbox. So check all of these checkboxes, click OK, and come to the next. In this window, we need to choose the methods to generate. By default, do you want to fill the data table? Yes, I want to fill the data table by this method. Indeed, if you wanna execute the select query and load the data by this, then add the field method to my table adapter. And after calling the field method in my table adapter, this query will be executed to load the data. And after that, do you want to return the data in the new data table? No, I don't want to do that. So uncheck this checkbox. And also, as you see over here, create insert update delete methods over here and come to the next. As you see, all of these are checked. It means everything is working. Generate select query, insert, update, delete, and generate table mapping field up to the end. But if you have the same problem inside your select query, for instance, like this, then come to the next. So generated select statement, invalid object name is to, and this is a really important matter to write the correct select query over here. Come to the next, and you can see the field, the next. And the question is, can I change the field method? Yes, you can change it to anything that you want. But personally, I prefer to leave it. Or you can write, for instance, fill all and come to the next. So the fill all is generated and also the remaining queries and finish. After a couple of seconds, everything will be automatically generated. Indeed, based on my table adapter, it's time to generate the data table. And if I take a look over here, congratulations, now my data table is generated over here based on the table inside my SQL server. Based on this one and these columns, all of these are available now inside my dataset. Let's save everything, and after that let's repeat the project to be sure everything is working perfectly. As you see over here, I have the table adapter. You can see the table adapter, and it has the fill method, fill all. If you right click on this and preview data, then you can see the results, the SQLDS student data table, and the fill all. Select this and preview. So you can see the results over here, all of these records exactly like this. And if I take a look, great and amazing. I have up to 13 records. Well done. Now we learned how to add the table adapter, how to add the data table and create the connection between the table adapter and automatically generate the data table. So it's done. Now we have successfully completed the ADO.NET up to here. But in the next video, I want to talk deeply about the table adapter, the connection string, and also the data table. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorial. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to take a deeper look into the data table, the table adapter, and the connection. So let's see it. First, we talked about how to add the data table and also the table adapter. Indeed, we are over here. We added the table adapter and also all of these queries, the connection, and the data table. So in this step, by using the table adapter, we can load the data from the database and fill it inside the data table. It's very simple and straightforward. Later, in my upcoming tutorial, I'll show you how to use the binding source to connect the data inside the data table into the application, and the result is something like this. So let's take a deeper look inside the Visual Studio over here. At the beginning, let's take a deeper look into the data table. This is my data table, and it is a students. And if I select this, put it over here, and after that, if I take a look, great. Now I have the students, right click on it, get inside the design. And this is the design of my data table. As you see, I have the ID. You can see the ID over here. It is primary key, exactly like this. And after that, its type is integer. You can see the integer over here. And if I take a look, the type is over here. The data type is system int 32. The system int 32 is something like the int in the SQL server. This is in the .NET Core. So it is inside the system.int32. And after that, you can see allow null is unchecked. So allow db null unchecked or false over here. And it is auto increment. If I take a look over here, you can see it is the and identity. You can see the identity over here, and the increment is 1 and the first number is 1. So as you see, it is auto increment. So if I take a look over here, come to the ID, then get inside the properties, and the identity is yes. First, we talked about this matter. And also, if I take a look, I have the first name. You can see the first name is type is a string, and the first name in the database is nvarchar up to 50 characters. So I have the max length up to 50 characters. As you see, based on the columns inside my data table, inside my SQL server, we have similar that over here inside my dataset and the data table. We call this as data table and call this as the table. So table, data table. And after this, if I take a look into another one, you can see the max length over here and also its data type. Then its caption is this and the name is this one. You don't need to memorize all of this. I'll talk about this matter for your deeper understanding. And after this, I have the students. So if you select the students itself, you have all of this, the case sensitive false, local, up to the name. Now let's select the table adapter and talk more about it. As you see over here, I have the table adapter. So the table adapter is connected between the data table and the database. So as you see over here, I have the SQL queries, the language between the database and also the data table, including the insert, select, update, and delete. Firstly, we talked about this matter. And also we have the connection over here. So if I take a look in the Visual Studio, and let's resize it up to this one, and also I can move it. And previously we talked about another one, and if I take a look inside the dataset, inside the XSC, you can see these are added based on the new data table. And also the next one, these are added based on the new data table over here. So come over here and select the table adapter, and in the properties, at the first step, I have the connection. You can see the connection over here. And also you can change the connection of my table adapter. Suppose you want to change the server. Currently, my server is this server. Indeed, is this server. Suppose you want to change your server. Then you need to change it in your table adapter. So over here, select this, come to the connection and change it from here. You can select another one or come to the new connection. And exactly like previous tutorial, change it from here. And after this, if I expand that, I have the name of my connection, then the modifier, then the connection string. You can see the connection string over here. The connection string is the text that includes the server name, then the database name, and all the credential information, including the username and password if we need it. Then I have the provider, Microsoft Data, SQL client, and the modifier is internal. So this was about the connection. In the next step, I have the select query. So you can see the select command over here. And this is the select command if you hover on it. And also I have the parameters. Let's leave it. Currently, we don't need to work with it. And after the select query, as I mentioned, the table adapter will generate the insert, update, and delete queries. So this is the results. I have the, if I take a look, the delete query or delete command for deleting the records from the database. And the command is something like this. You can click on it. As I say, it is a really big one. And from here up to here, if you click on the execute query, we need to assign all of these parameters to delete one record. But don't change anything over here because all of these codes are automatically generated based on your select query. As the result, never change anything over here manually. If you want to change something here, you need to configure your data table and table adapter. It's really simple. You can come to the table adapter itself, right click on it and configure. So this is the configure. Based on this, you can get inside the query builder, change the query, then automatically based on your changes, three items, insert, update, and delete, will be automatically generated easily. And quickly over here and come to the finish. Currently, I have only one method and it is fill all. So you can, instead of configuring the table adapter, you can select this and configure it. So we have something like this over here up to the end. Now let's look at the table adapter one more time, and I have the delete command. Also, I have the insert command to add the new record to the database. So it is like this. And also I have the parameters, and if you select this and click on it. So I have this one and execute. So we need to assign all of these parameters to add the new record. As I mentioned, don't change anything over here because these should be automatically generated by the table adapter based on the select query. And after that, I have the update command to save back the changes into the database or update the data. And it is a really big query. So it is like this. If I change it like this, it's a really big one, and execute. So we need to assign all of these parameters and values to update the data of the selected record easily and quickly. Now let's cancel this, and like person, never change anything over here because it should be automatically generated. Well done. Now we learned more about the data table, the table adapter, and also the connection. In addition, if you want to change the connection, you have another option. You can select the table adapter itself, come to the configure, and come to the previous. This is previous, and I have the new connection over here, and I can easily change the connection from here. Then you need to get to the next up to the finish. Okay, I enjoyed a lot. Now we learned deeply about the table adapter, the data table, and the connection. So what about the next step? In the next step, it's time to start working with the binding source and designing the items on the window and connect the data inside my data table to the items on the form using the binding source. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start designing the student registration form. So let's see it. Then now we talk about how to create the database, add the dataset, table adapter, and the data table. And the next step is time to design the data entry form for my students. So let's do it. Come over here, and this is the example. We have some buttons at the top. Then I have the group box, and inside it I have all of these items to add and enter the data inside them. And also we have the data grid view over here to show the records of existing information and the data. So let's start designing the data entry form. Come over here and come to the Visual Studio. If you can see the toolbox items over here, it means you need to close the Visual Studio and open it from scratch. This is the bug of the Visual Studio, that you can't see the tools inside the toolbox. At the first step, we need to design the buttons at the top. We have two options. First, we can add the simple buttons and add some images to them. Or in the next step, we can use the tool strip. The tool strip is really great, and also it's new in this course. So let's come over here, and here I have the tool strip. This is the tool strip, drag and drop over here. Select the tool strip itself. Currently I can't resize it, so come to the properties, and as you see over here I have the auto size. Set the auto size to false. Now I can resize it manually to anything that I want, up to here for instance. And the next step is time to add the items. So currently let's leave them. Later I'll show you how to add the items to that. And the next one, if I take a look, I need to add the group box over here and add some items inside it. So come over here, and this is my group box. Drag and drop over here. Now I can select that and resize it like this up to here, for instance. So this is the result. We have a lot of items that we need to add them over here. Now let's select this and resize the form itself up to here. And in the next item is the data grid view control. So come over here and come to this data grid view. This is the data grid view. Drag and drop over here, and let's select this and put it over here. In addition, we need to add some items at the bottom, including 3 items. If I take a look over here, we have 3 items, including the rec user, rec date, and rec time. So we need to add them at the bottom of my form over here. It means we need to add another panel. So come over here and select the panel. This is the panel, and put it over here. Now let's come to the properties and set the border style, set it to fixed single, and also set the dock and dock it to the bottom of form, exactly over here. So I can resize it up to this one, for instance. Now let's select this and resize it like this one. So I have the tooltip at the top, the group box, the data grid view control, and the panel for my labels at the bottom. Now let's select the group box, come over here and set it the details. So it's done, and it's a really great idea to run the application and check the structure of the form. Well done. The overall structure looks good. And in the next step, it's time to add the items to the tooltip one by one. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorial. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start completing the tooltip by adding the appropriate buttons to that. So let's do it. First, we talked about how to design the overall structure of the form. So let's start working with the first step, and it is the toolbar or tooltip over here. As you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 buttons at the top to add, edit, and delete the record. We can use the buttons, but personally I prefer to use the toolbar or tooltip over here. So this is the result. Come over here, select this, and add the button. This is my button. It is only image. Come to the display style and set it to the image and text. So I have the image and text. Come to the properties, and over here I have the text image relation. You can see it and click on it. Image about text. So we have something like this over here, exactly what we need. In addition, you can customize the location of the text by the text align, and also the location of the image by image align. But currently we don't need to add anything over here. So come here and come to the next one. In the next step, it's really great idea to add the image to this. To start my tutorial, I downloaded all the required images and I put them over here inside the images, audio.net, and the data entry buttons. And if I hover on the image, it is 24 in 24 pixels, or you can come over here, right click, properties, and get inside the size, the details, and the size is over here. Now let's copy all of this, and let's select this and copy. Come to the project and the project properties over here. As you see over here, I have the resources and the general. First, we talked about this matter and how to work with the resources. So create or open assembly resources, click on it, get inside the resources, come to the strings and set it to the images because I want to add the images inside my resources and paste. You know what? Adding the images to the resources means you can use the images everywhere inside your project, and you can use them multiple times in your project in the different forms. So let's save everything, and it's really important matter to save the resources. Now let's select the student rec, come over here, this is the student rec, and come to this one and get inside the image. This is the image, so let's select this, come to the resource and the new one. This is the new button. and you can see it over here. In the next step, I have the image scaling. Let's set it to none. Then I have the image as the full size like this. Come to this one and I can easily select this, come to the text and change it to the new like this. If I take a look, it is the new or add no, no worries. And let's add the add no like this, add no. So in the next step, it's a really great idea to increase the width of this button. So let's select the button, come to this one. And before doing anything, let's change the name of button and name it new but exactly like this. After that, I have the auto size. Let's select this and change it to the false. Now let's select the fonts to the auto size, and after that come to the size. I want to increase the width of my button, so let's change it up to, for instance, 110 like this. So it's done and now it's bigger. And in the next step, it's time to repeat these steps for the remaining items. And also, if I select this, come to the properties, the font is a little bit big one. I can easily decrease that up to, for instance, 11. Let's check it. And now it looks better, I think. And also let's select this and resize the height like this. And it looks better, I think. Now let's select this and add the separator. This is the separator. And I can select this and right click. If you can select the button, it means you need to save everything. Come to this and open your form from scratch. It's really simple and straightforward. So save it me. Welcome back. Now I opened my form one more time. So let's select this and copy. Select the tool strip and paste it over here. And after that, let's add the separator. This is my separator. The next one, the separator, the next one, and the separator, and the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can select the next. And if I take a look over here, it is the edit. This is the edit, the delete, and the save and the cancel. So let's select this. And it is to let's button 1. Let's name it edit. Edit bot. This is edit bot. The next one, if I take a look, is delete bot or del bot. Del bot. And the next one is save. So it is save bot. We need to assign the unique name for this for faster working with them. And this is the cancel bot. Cancel bot. And you are completely free to use anything and any name that you want. So let's select this. It is add new, and now let's scroll down and this is change it to the edit. You can see the edit over here. The next one is say is delete. So let's write delete, and this is the save. So it is save and cancel like this, cancel. And after all of this, I can let's select the second one and come to the properties and the image. I have the image over here. So let's select that and change it to the edit. So this is the edit. And the next one, if I take a look, is the delete. So project resource and the delete. And the next one is save. So come over here and select the save from the project resource. This is the save. And finally, I have the cancel. So I can come over here and select the cancel from the project resource like this. Now it's a really great idea to add another separator and put it over here. And let's put it beside that. Great. Now I have the add, edit, delete, save, and cancel. Let's save everything and run and check it in the actual situations. So come here and select this. It's working and everything looks great and amazing. So what about the next step? In the next step, it's time to add the items to the group box. It's time consuming, so stay with me with my next and upcoming tutorial. Go ahead and open up your project and start adding the appropriate buttons to your tool lister. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start adding the items to your form. So let's begin. First, we talked about how to add the buttons at the top of my form. And the next step is time to add these items and also the items at the bottom of my form. So let's start. Come over here and come to this one. As you see, I have the label, then the text box, the label, the text box, up to the label, the date time picker. And also I have the income and it is something like this. So let's do it in the action. Come over here and at the beginning, let's add the label over here. But we need to use the list of the items. So we have two options. First, I can come over here and start working with these items from here. Or you can get inside the dataset itself and select that and put it over here beside the form itself like this. Now, this is my first item and it is ID. So I can copy the ID from here and come to this, get inside the properties over here. This is the text and paste it here. But copy and pasting the name from here is really dangerous and you should be smart and you should be careful about deleting the names. The next one is first name. So come over here. This is the ID. And before adding it, go over here and add the text box. This is my text box and put it over here. This is the ID and I can resize it up to here. Also, it's a really great idea to add the colon at the end of the ID. Now let's come over here and select this and put it a little bit at the top like this. And also let's copy and paste over here for the next item. The next item is first name. And after that, the next one is the last name. You can see the last name over here. And the next one is date of birth. So for the date of birth, we can use another item. So let's select this and put it over here and delete this. For the date of birth, I have the date time picker. So you can see the date time picker over here. Select this and put it over here. Currently, I have the long format for my date over here. Get inside the properties of the date time picker. And at the beginning, let's change the name and name it date of birth. And this is date time picker or DTP, date time picker. So come over here and come to the format. You can see the format is long. You can select the short format. So this is the short, the time format. And also if I take a look, I have the custom. Let's select the short format. It's great and ideal for our project. And after that, I have the cursor. It's a really great idea to change the cursor to the hand, my favorite one. And then I have another one. And if I take a look, we have the right to left layout for the right to left languages like the Arabic or even the Persian. You can see it's something like this. So let's set them to the no because I want to work with the English version of the language. So it's done. Now I have the date of birth and the grade. Let's copy this and paste it over here for the grade. For the grade, we can use the another control. And if I take a look, we can use the numeric up down. So over here, I have the numeric up down. Where are you? Great. Numeric up down, and we can change it like this. Or even we can use another control and put it away and select the combo box. You are completely free to use different and appropriate control for yourself. This is come to the properties and get inside the items. You can see the items of combo box over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 10, 11, and 12, and click OK. So it's done. And in the next step, it's a really great idea to assign the drop down style. You can see the drop down, then you can write anything that you want, or you want to lock it. So let's set it to the drop down list like this. So it's locked completely and I can't write anything inside it. So if I run the application, I can see the result. So if I take a look over here, currently I can only select the item from the combo box and I can't write anything inside it. But let's leave it by default and set it to the drop down and where are you? Great. Let's select this one more time. Go to the properties and select the drop down. Let's set it to the drop down. So it is free to write anything that I want. And after that, if I take a look, I have the grade and the class. So I can come over here and we have the predefined classes. So I can use the combo box for the class. So let's copy this and paste it over here like this one. And after that, let's select this, get inside the items, click on it, and write, for instance, G1, G2, G3, or A1, then A2, A3, up to the end, B1, B2, B3. Also, you can write anything that you want over here. So this was about the combo box. Also, if you don't want to use the combo box, it's really simple. Use the text box easily. And after that, I have the mobile. So let's copy this and paste the mobile over here. This is the mobile. Then I have the email, and this is the email easily and quickly. And after that, I have the address. So this is the address. I can resize the text box up to here. And also the next one is comment, and indeed the last one. So paste it over here and resize it like this. In addition, I can come over here and resize it up to here for more space. And also I can select this, move it a little bit to the top. And this is enough, I think. And also this one over here. It looks better now, I think. So this is the result. Now I have all of these items that we need to add the label one by one. This is the ID. The next one is first name. So this is my first name. Come to the properties and assign the first name over here. And the colon. Don't forget to add the colon. Then we need to add all of these one by one. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Well done. Now I added all of this. So let's select all of them over here. And it's time to move them up to here like this. It looks great and amazing. Also, I can select all of this and resize them up to here. Then we have the ID. The ID is auto-generated number. So we need to lock this text box. And previously we talked about this matter. And if I want to lock the text box, the only thing we need is assigning the read only to the true. So it's done. Now I can't write anything inside the ID. And as I mentioned, because it is auto-generated number. And if I take a look over here, this is the primary key. Let's select the students, get inside the design. And after that, let's select the ID itself. Come to the properties. And here I have the identity. And it is yes. It means it is auto-generated number. So let's close this and get inside the project. And after all of this, we have three other items that we're going to add them at the bottom of the form. So the first one is rec user. And don't forget to add the space for the last name. This is the last name, add the space, and also the first name, add the space like this. And don't forget, if I take a look over here, we need to add this using the label. So let's select this, copy, and paste it over here inside the panel. This is my panel and paste over here. And this is my first one. And name it the reg user or registration user. And after that, let's come over here and copy that and paste it the next label over here. This is my label. Come to the properties, auto size, set it to the false and resize it up to here, for instance, reg user up to this one. And also this is user, so let's add the R at the end like this, reg user. And after that, I have the reg user, and I can easily add the hyphen like this. Now let's copy this and paste it over here easily and quickly. This is the next one is reg date. So this is reg date, And also I can use the uppercase D for that and resize it up to here. Rec date. Now let's copy this and paste it over here. And it is the rec time. Rec date and rec time. So this is time, rec time. Now it's time to add the names for these items one by one. This is the rec time, so it's a great idea to assign the rec time. This is the label. So rec time LBL. And after that, the next one is this. It is the rec date. Also, let's select this and put it up to here and move this up to here. It looks better now. The rec time label. The next one is rec date. Yes, rec date. Rec date label. And after that, this is the reg user. Reg user label or LBL. And after that, we need to assign the appropriate name for all of this. So it's time consuming, so stay with me. Welcome back. Now I successfully added the appropriate and unique name for all of these controls. The first one is the comment T box. T box stands for text box. And also the next one, address, the email up to the, and also I have the grade, but the grade is combo box. So let's say C box instead of the T box, C box, and also the class is C box, and this is the result. And the next one is date of birth. You can see the date of birth. And finally, I have the ID T box. Also, we have the name for all of this. Now let's run and let's see the result. Well done. Now my design is accomplished successfully and I did it. So go ahead and open up your project and start designing the items inside your form. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start adding the columns to the data grid view control and also load the data inside it by the table adapter. So let's begin. Till now, we talked about how to design all of these items over here. In the next step, it's time to load the data. For better understanding, if I take a look over here, currently I have the items on my form, including the text boxes and all the controls and also the data grid view control. Also, I have the data set that has inside it the table adapter and also the data table. So we need to use the connector, a connector between the data inside the data table and also the items on the form. We call it the binding source. The binding source is the connector between the data set and the items on the form. Adding the binding source is really simple and straightforward. Just come over here and come to this one. Before doing anything, we need to add a reference to my data set. It's a really important matter. So if I take a look in the toolbox, you can see the SQL DS. And if I expand that, great. So it is my SQL DS. And if I take a look over here, SQL DS, a reference to my data set. And also I have the table adapter over here, a reference to my table adapter. If you can see all of this, you need to rebuild your project first, then come to the tools and options. Get inside the Windows Form Designer and at the bottom, I have the automatically populate toolbox, set it to true. Then click OK, close the Visual Studio completely and open it from scratch. And also don't forget to rebuild the project after opening that. So come over here and come to the SQL.ds, drag and drop over here. Currently, the SQL.ds is added at the bottom of your form. Why? Because it hasn't any GUI or interface. If you want to work with it, you need to use its properties and methods. Now come to the all Windows forms over here and the binding source. Drag and drop the binding source over here. So the binding source has a really simple structure. We need to assign the data source. Data source is a reference to the data set. So if I take a look over here, Let's be patient. Great. Now let's select the binding source one more time. Come to the data source. A data source is a connection or a reference to the dataset, indeed to the SQL DS. The SQL DS over here is the reference to the actual dataset over here inside my project. So let's select the data source, come over here, and all the data sources. And a student reg is this form, and inside it I have the SQL DS, exactly this one. And also in the data member, I need to select the data table. If I come over here and click on this one, I have the data table and it is students. So I need to select the students over here. SQL DS, then the students easily and quickly. Now I have added the binding source successfully. In the next step, it's time to assign the binding source to my data grid view. So let's select the data grid view itself, come to a smart tag, click on it. Over here, I have the choose data source. I can come to this and select the binding source directly. Or you can come to the properties and here I have the data source. Select this and over here I have the binding source one, click on it. Now what happens? All of the columns are added automatically. This is the power of the binding source. Automatically adds all of this over here. Exactly based on these columns. All of this are added over here. Now let's save everything, and also rebuilding the project is really great idea to prevent any unexpected errors in the future. Now if I run the application, let's see the result. In this step, I can see the columns over here, but there isn't any data inside my data grid view. Why? For better understanding, if I take a look over here, as I mentioned previously, the binding source is the connection, is the connector between the data table and the items. And the data table currently is empty because we didn't load any data inside it. If we want to assign the data or load the data inside the data table, we need to use the table adapter and load the data from the database into the data table. Then we can see the result over here inside the form. So come over here and come to this one. And before doing anything, let's stop the project, get inside the toolbox, and I have the student table adapter and drag and drop over here. So this is my table adapter, and double click on the form itself to generate the form load event. Now my form load event is loaded over here, and the codes inside it will be executed at the starting of the application and this form. So let's say me dot the table adapter. I have the table adapter and the table adapter second one. Why? Because it is this one over here, and you can see it. Also, I can change its name to the main students table adapter. You are completely free to use anything that you want. Now let's write me dot table adapter, and this is the students table adapter 2. The me is optional and it is for faster and quick access to the items inside my form, including this or all the elements. So you can easily delete this part without any problem and say a student's table adapter 2 dot. In this list, I can see the different properties and methods of my table adapter. And if I take a look, I have the dataset and get inside it. I have the student table adapter and the fill all method. As I mentioned previously, if you right click on it, get inside the preview data and execute that. So the data will be loaded over here, all of the data indeed. And as I mentioned previously, the fill all will execute the query. And also if you right click on this and configure, so this code will be executed if you call and execute the fill all method of your table adapter. And this is the really simple and straightforward structure. So let's save everything and get inside the code over here. So the table adapter at dot and the fill all. So you can see the fill all over here at parentheses. As you see over here in the fill all method, it has only one parameter, and it is the data table. The data table should be like the SQL Pro.ds, SQL.ds, students data table. Exactly like this, the SQL Pro. You can see the SQL Pro over here, the DS folder, then the SQL.ds. This is the SQL.ds, and inside it, I have the students data table. So up to here, SQL Pro DS, SQL DS, up to here, we have a reference to that. Indeed, this is the reference, the SQL DS. So we can directly use it. So come over here and come to this one and say me.SQL DS. Or you can delete the me. You are completely free. It's optional. Add dots, and inside it, I have the students. Exactly this one, the students. Now everything is done. The only thing I need is running the project and enjoying the life. Wow, what happened? I got this error. The certificate change was issued by the authority that is not trusted. You know what? If you got any unexpected errors, don't worry about anything and don't be afraid. Just try to find the logical reason of the error. So I got this error. I can easily copy that and get inside the Google like this. And after that, paste over here, it's very simple and straightforward. So I have the learn.microsoft.com. It is official website of the Microsoft. Come over here. There is something wrong in the connection string, so we need to fix that. Now, if I scroll down, I have all of this and the solution. As you see, I have this solution number 3 that we need to add this part, trust server certificate equals true. So we need to add this part, and if you want to fix the error, don't forget to add the semicolon at the beginning of it. So let's copy this, and it should be added to the connection string. So come over here, get inside the project, stop it, get inside. If I take a look, get inside the dataset over here and select the table adapter itself, come to the properties, and here I have the connection. And if I expand the connection, I have the connection string, and at the end, paste it over here exactly. So I have the semicolon, then the trust server certificate equals true. Don't use double semicolon, just only one semicolon over here, then the trust server certificate equals true. Save everything, and if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. Also, you can rebuild the project before continuing. Well done. Now I have all of the records over here. These are the data that are currently inside my database and indeed over here. If I come to this and execute the query, then these data are available over here inside my application. It means my mission is accomplished successfully up to here using the ADO.NET technology for loading the data. Okay, I enjoyed a lot. Now we learned many great tips and tricks. In the next step, it's time to customize the data grid view control and connect the binding source to these items. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorials. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start binding all of the items on the form to the data table using the binding source. So let's see it. First, we talked about how to use the binding source to connect the items, including the data grid view, to the data table. And for the final step, it's time to connect the items on the form to the data table using the binding source. It's really simple and it's safer. Just come over here and come to this one. Let's start working with the ID. This is the ID, and I have the binding source one over here. So this is the ID. Come to the properties. At the top, if I take a look over here, I have the data binding, expand that, and here I have the text property. I want to connect the text property of the ID text box to the ID column, indeed to this ID column. It's really simple and it's straightforward. So let's come over here and come to this one more time. Data binding, the text, and expand that. I have the binding source 1, and inside it I have the ID. So let's select this, the ID. And after that, if I select the next one, and it is the first name. So the text property, the binding source 1, and the first name. The next one is the last name. So let's select this, come to the text property, and binding source 1 and the last name. The next one is date of birth. So if I take a look in the date time picker and scroll down, we have the value property. So this is the value property that we're gonna connect that to the binding source. So let's come over here, data binding, and here I have the value. So let's select this, come to the binding source 1, and after that date of birth, like this. And after that, I have the combo box. This is the combo box, but each combo box has the text over here. We're gonna connect the text property to the binding source. So this is the combo box text property, and it is, if I take a look over here, it is the grade. So this is the grade. The next one is class. Come over here and select the class like this. The next one is mobile or cell number, and click over here, the cell number or mobile. The next one is email, and the email easily and quickly. Also, I have the address. You can see the address over here, text, and this is the address. And finally, I have the comment. This is the comment, and I need to connect that to the comment column like this. In addition, we have another 3 items, including the rec user, rec date, and rec time. So let's select the rec user. It is the label, so we have the text property. Select this, come to the binding source, and I have the rec user like this. And after that, if I take a look, this is the next, and it is rec date. So this is the rec date. And finally, I have the rec time over here. So this is the rec time up to this one. Also, don't forget to check all of this from scratch, one by one. It's really important matter to check all of them from scratch. Now, if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. Well done. Now we have all of these over here that are connected to the database easily and quickly. And about the date indeed, this is the null, so you can see it has the value inside it. But over here I have the date of birth and it is null. If I select the next one, this one, and after that if I select this, it's working. And also if I select this, it's working. But in the null, exactly over here, if I check it over here, I haven't anything inside the database, but I have the value over here. It means we can't bind the null to the datetime picker. So what is the solution? The solution is add the items to the date of birth column. So I have the MySQL, the tables, and this is added. And it means we need to add the date to all of this date of birth. Where are your date of birth? This is the date of birth. And I can come over here and write something inside it. For instance, 03. And after that over here, now all of my records has the date of birth. And this is really important matter. And also, if I save everything and close this, come to the students and right click on it and design. Over here, if I take a look, the date of birth can be null. You can see it can be null. It's not necessary to allow null over here. So you can uncheck this checkbox and save everything. Then you can't enter the null value to the date of birth. And it's not possible anymore. If you do that, it's very simple. Just uncheck this, save everything, and after that, let's close this. Come to the Visual Studio. So come over here and get inside the data set over here. This is the date of birth. So let's just stop the project, get inside the properties, and as you see, allow DB null is true. Don't change it manually from here. You need to change it automatically from configuring the table adapter. It's very simple. Just come to the table adapter, right click on it, configure, and come to the query builder and check the DOB is checked. So it is over here, and all of my records has the date of birth. So click OK, come to the next, and don't forget to check this checkbox. And it's a really important matter. So come to the next, all of the select, insert, update, delete are generated, and finish. So if I take a look, as you see, everything looks great. Now the DOB or date of birth has allowed to be null to false. It's really simple and straightforward. Now if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. So I have the date of birth and everything looks great and amazing. In addition, we have the great over here, and it is null, so it's not an important matter. We can leave it null. And this is the 12, or this is null. You can see the null. Also, I have the class that is null, and without any problem I can do that. But in the date time picker, we can't show the null date. As the result, we need to enter same value as the date inside the date of birth, and after that show it inside the date time picker over here. Well done. Now my mission is accomplished successfully to connect the items on my form to the items in the binding source. Go ahead and open up your project and start connecting your items to the binding source. Thanks, and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start customizing the data grid view control. So let's see. Then now we talked about how to design something like this, and also how to bind the data grid view control and also the items on the binding source. In the next step, it's time to customize the data grid view control. So come over here and come to this one, click on this, and the edit columns. You can select the edit columns from here, or come to the columns in the properties and the collection over here. This is the column editor, so you can edit the columns. You can easily remove any column that you want. For instance, let's remove this, this, or this. And also you can add the columns. So let's select this, add data bound column. Data bound column means the columns that you want to bind it to the binding source. So let's scroll down and set it to the reg user. I have the name over here and also the header text. So you can change it to the reg user, for instance, and add it. So it's added over here. You can see it. The reg user is added over here. And after that, you can change the order of the columns. For instance, put it at the top, or move it over here, or something like that. And finally, I can delete that easily and quickly. And after that, I can select this, come to the properties. The most common properties are the header text. This is the header text, and all of these are header text. So let's write uppercase ID. And after that, this is the first name. Come over here and split the first from the name, the last name, and this is the last name. And then we have another common property, and it is the width of the column. By default, it is 100 pixels. So you can select the ID, come to the properties, and the width. You can see it is big one. So I can select this, and this time, for instance, 65. And if I click OK, then you can see the width is smaller than the previous one. And also I have multi-line first name. It means we need to increase the width of these columns. So come over here, click on the smart tag, edit columns. And here I have the first name. So come to the properties, and I have the width. I can easily increase this up to 130. And after that, the last name up to 150 like this. And if I click OK, so it's better now. And after that, we can easily come to the properties and change the visibility to show or hide. For instance, I don't want to show the address. and this is the address. So you can see the visible over here. I can set it to the false, and also the comment. So I don't want to make it visible, so set it to false. And if I click OK, currently I can't see anything until I run the application. So let's come over here, and as you see, I can see the comment and also the address over here because both of them are invisible. So let's come over here and come to this one more time. Click over here and get inside the edit columns one more time. Now in this window, if I select the ID and come over here, I have another important property, and it is a data property. By default, it is the ID. And if I select the first name, for instance, this is the first name. This is really important one and never change it because it is the column name that is binded to the binding source. So it's really important matter. And the only thing we need is selecting that, not writing it. Just select that. For instance, this is the first name. You need to select the first name, not write. So never change this property because it is by default and automatic. Now let's click OK and it's done. And after that, I have another important properties, including the enable adding, enable editing, enable deleting, and enable column reordering. Let's check this one and run the application to see what's going on inside my data grid view control. So this is my data grid view control. I can easily select this and delete that by the keyboard, or I can write anything that I want. Don't forget, these are only inside the data grid view control, and currently we haven't any code to save it in the database. So freely change it everywhere that you want. And also I can reorder the column like this or this one over here. And this is the new record. So I can add the new record over here like this without any problem. So it's really simple and straightforward. And if you wanna use this form, if you wanna add the new item using the add button or edit that or delete, you need to uncheck all of the checkboxes. So come over here and select this one, and after that get inside the smart tag. Then come over here and uncheck enable adding. You can see I haven't any empty row over here, and if I check it back, you can see the empty row. Don't forget to uncheck enable adding and also enable editing, enable deleting. You are completely free to enable column reordering and set it to true or false. So come over here and let's run the application and let's see the result. Now let's go over here and select this. This time I can't write anything inside the data grid view control, and also if you come over here, come to the last, you can see the new record over here, and also I can delete the record entirely using my delete key on the keyboard. It means these are completely ready to write the codes by these buttons. Well done. Now we learned how to quickly customize the data grid view control and give it better looking. So in the next step, it's time to start writing the codes for these buttons. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily write the C# code for the buttons over here to enable and disable all the buttons, and also the details group box, then the data grid view control. So let's see it. For better understanding, if I take a look over here in the application, over here I have the default state for these buttons. By default, these are disabled, these are enabled, and also the group box is disabled. So we need to create something like this. Come over here and come to this one. By default, let's select this. Its name is cancel button. Come to enable and set it to the false. The next one is save. So come over here and a save button, set it to the false. And after that, I have the group box, and this is my group box. I can name it details group box, details group box, and come to the enabled and set it to false. Then everything inside this group box will be disabled. And after that, we need to set the data grid view control to enabled easily and quickly. Now let's come over here and run the application and see the result. So this is the result. By default, the save and cancel are disabled, and also the details group box is disabled and everything inside it. In addition, we have the enabled data grid view control over here. So if I take a look in the application, and this is my application. After clicking on the add or edit or delete, let's see the result. These buttons are disabled and the save and cancel are enabled. And also the details group box is enabled and the data grid view control is disabled. So we need to write the code or the same code indeed for add, edit, and delete. And if I click on the cancel, then these are disabled, and delete, edit, and add new button are enabled. So it's really simple and straightforward. Come over here and counter this one. Select the new button after a couple of seconds. So this is new button, and also the next one is edit. The next one is delete. Let's select this and click on it. This is the new button, click. And after that, if I take a look over here, the next one is edit. And the next one, if I take a look, is delete. And after that, I have the save and cancel. So this is the save. And finally, I have the cancel. And this is the cancel over here. So let's start working with the first one. The first one is new button click. It's a really great idea to define the new sub and put the codes inside it. Just call it over here, here, and also this. So let's name it new, then edit, then del bot. And this is my first sub. And after that, it's really great idea to say me, then my button and new button, then enabled equals to what? Equals to false. And after that, to start my tutorial, let's copy this, paste over here, here, and after that, let's come to this and this. The next one is the edit button. So I have the edit button. Then the del button should be disabled. So I have the save button and the save button should be enabled. So let's set it to true. And also the next one is the cancel button. So let's set it to true like this, the true. Now it's time to call this. So let's select this, copy, and call it in the new button click event. We can use the call, it is optional, or you can leave it. It's not important matter. For readability of the code, it's a really great idea to add the call over here. So the del button and call this one easily and quickly. And if I take a look in the next application over here, if I come to the add new and cancel, then these are disabled and these are enabled. Exactly reverse of the new button. So I can copy the code, come over here and exactly here and name it the save, then the cancel like this, and it is reverse. So we need to enable the new button, then the edit button, and also the delete button, and we need to disable the save button. So this is false and this is false easily and quickly. So it's time to use it. So it is save cancel button, copy and name it over here inside the save button, click event, and also inside the cancel button event like this. Now it's time to run the application. So it's done. Now if I click on the add, then these are disabled and save and cancel are enabled. Click on the cancel to disable the save and cancel, and also to enable all of these buttons. And the next step is time to enable and disable the data grid view control. So if I take a look over here, currently the data grid view control is enabled, but if I click on the add, then it is disabled. Or if I click on the edit, it is disabled. And also if I click on the delete, it is disabled. Let's do it. Come over here and come to this one, scroll up, and exactly over here we need to disable the data grid view control. So if I take a look, we need to get the name of the data grid view control at the first step. So this is the data grid view 1. Now let's come over here and come to this one and add some comment and write me. The me is optional, so you can delete that. And I'm going to use it to faster access to the controls inside this form. So let's write me dot, and after that, the data grid view, control this and disable that. So let's set enabled equals to false like this. And after that, in the next method, we need to make it reverse over here in the save and cancel button. We need to enable that. So let's select this and write true easily and quickly. And after that, if I take a look in this example, currently it is enabled, but the group box is disabled. So if you click on the add, it's enabled. And if you click on the edit, it's enabled. And if you click on the delete, it's disabled. So the codes for the add, edit are enabling the details group box. And for the delete, we need to disable the group box. So we can't use the codes over here inside the save cancel because the code for the delete is different. Now let's come over here and come to the first one, and this is the new edit. It's really simple. Just come over here and write me, then the details group box and this enabled, and set it to true after clicking on the new button like this. And also we have the same code in the edit button. So this is, and after that, if I take a look, I have the reverse of it in the delete button. So reverse of it. And this is the reverse. So me details group box enabled is false in the delete button. And after that, after clicking on the save button, if I click on the save or the cancel, then this should be disabled. So enable and disable. It's very simple. Just get inside the save cancel button and at the end over here. So let's disable that and come to this and say the details group box enabled equals to false. You know what? All of these codes are completely logical. So don't worry about the amount of code. For instance, all of these codes. Step by step and logically, you need to write the codes. So it's really simple and straightforward if you think about the codes logically. So come over here and add. Then I have the enabled items over here and cancel. So it's disabled. And also if I click on the edit, it's enabled, cancel, disabled, and delete, it's disabled, and cancel is disabled. And also if I click on this, after clicking on the add, the data grid view is disabled and it is enabled. And if I click on the edit, this is disabled. Click on the save, it is enabled. And we need to check all of this one by one. Well done. Now we learned how to write the code to enable and disable the buttons, the details group box, and also the data grid view control. My mission is accomplished successfully over here in this step. So for the next one, we need to write the code for the buttons individually. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start writing the code for add, edit, and delete buttons. Now let's begin. Till now, we talked about how to design this form and also how to bind the items and the data control to the binding source. And the next step is time to write the code for these three buttons. So if I take a look in the structure over here, if you want to add, edit, or delete, then we need to do it inside the data table by the binding source. It means we don't need to save the changes inside the database. We need to save the changes inside the data table. Then after clicking on the save button, the changes will be updated inside the database by the table adapter. So in this step, let's start working with the binding source to add, edit, and delete the items. Come over here and come to this one. At the beginning, I have the add new over here, and also I have the binding source 1. So let's select the add new button. You can see it over here and click on it. First, we talked about these codes. So let's add some comment here like this. And after that, say me binding source 1. This is, and after that, add dots. And this, as you can see, the events and properties and the methods of the binding source. So you can work with one of these. Let's select the add new, and this is the add new to add the new item to the list. This is easily and quickly. So it's done. And also if I take a look over here, it's a really great idea to assign the values to the rec user, rec date, and also the rec time after clicking on the add new button. Let's start working with the rec user. Currently we haven't the login user, so we can add the sample text to that. This is the rec user label. So come here and say after adding the new record, me rec user. This is the rec user. Each property, the text property. Let's write something sample inside it and say login user. Later, after creating the login form, we're going to change it with the actual value. And the next one is the rec. If I take a look, this is the rec and the rec date. This is the rec date. Add dot and the text property equals to what? Equals to date time. This is date, and after that the time over here. Dot now, and after that the date. This is the date, and we need to convert it to a string if we want to assign it to the text. In the VB.NET, it's not necessary to convert it, and we can select this and leave it, but it's better to convert it to the string. And after that, if I run, I can see the result. Let's check the codes up to here. Now let's go over here and click on the add new. So after clicking on the add new, the negative one is added over here. Negative one over here means this is the new record, and also the negative one over here. And after that, I have the login user here and the current date over here, the rec date. There is another remaining item, and it is the rec time. So let's come over here and come to this. This is the date and the time. The time is a little bit different. So let's say me rec and the rec time dot text equals to what? Equals to date time now, and space over here, then to a string. I want to convert it to a string, but if I add the parentheses over here, you can see it has up to 4 different overloads. So the first one, and if I take a look, the third one indeed has the format as parameter over here, and its type is a string. So I can come over here and add the double quotations here. Now let's start working with the format. In the format word, the uppercase H 2 times means 24 hours, 24 hours, and this is the result. And this is, so let's write HH, and after that the colon, then the MM for minute, then the SS for seconds. And this is the 24 hours format. If you want to use 12 hours format, don't hesitate to use the lowercase like this. So it's done. Now if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. So click on the add. Now you can see the rec time exactly based on the time of my computer. and also I have the rect date and the login user. What about the next button? The next button is the edit. In the edit, the only thing we need to is enabling this to write anything that we want. And after that, we need to assign these items one more time. So let's go over here and copy this and get inside the edit button. This is the edit button. If I take a look, yes, this is the edit button. Come over here and add some comment like this and paste it over here. After clicking on the edit button, we need to assign the value for reg user, reg date, and reg time. Also, we need to enable the details group box. Then my user can edit anything that he wants. So let's select the Bob Parsons and edit. If you take a look, the login user, the reg date, and the reg time. And also I can start working with this as I wish. And in the next step, I have the delete button. In the delete button, as I mentioned previously, if you click on the delete, then the details group is not enabled and it is disabled. So I have the disabled details group box and also disabled data grid view control. So come over here and come to the next one, and it is the delete button. So let's come to this and say me binding source. I'm going to use the binding source. This is the binding source dot remove. Remove what? Remove the current record or current row. Now if I run, I can see the result. So let's select the first record and delete that. It's deleted. And if I come to the next, then record 2 is deleted, the next one is deleted, and the next one is deleted. But these are inside the data table, and currently we didn't save it inside the SQL database. So if I take a look in the SQL database over here and execute the query, you can see all of the data are existing over here. If you want to save back the changes inside the database, you need to write the code for the save button, and the save button will use the table adapter to get the changes over here and update the database. In my upcoming tutorial, I'll talk about this matter. Go ahead and open up your project and start working with your own project. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start writing the code for saving the data inside the database by the save button. Now let's begin. First, we talked about add, edit, and delete button codes. And the next one is save button. If I take a look in our structure over here, first we talked about the add, edit, and delete buttons. And as I mentioned, we're going to use the binding source to add the data to the data table, or to edit the data or delete the data. Now everything is done inside the data table, but the database hasn't any information about the changes inside the data table. It means we need to use the table adapter to get the changes, and based on it generate the query, including the insert, the update, and delete, and then execute it against the database. So if you wanna save the data inside the SQL database, you need to use the table adapter. Now let's again go over here and come to this one, click on the save button. This is my save button. So it hasn't anything after that. So let's come to this and say this. At the beginning, it's really great idea to add the try structure to manage the errors. And after that, let's say me, then the binding source. At the first step, let's use the binding source and use the end edit to edit any changes, to end any changes inside the data table. So this is really important. Never forget that. Never forget this. It's really important step. And after that, come over here and use the table adapter. So let's write me the table adapter. This is my student's table adapter 1, and it is on my form. exactly over here, the table adapter and also the binding source. So table adapter add dots. In this list, you can see the different methods and properties of the table adapter. The most common method and the most important one is the update. So the update is really genius method. And if you click on it, add parentheses, it needs only one parameter and it is the data table. And if I add the parentheses, so it has up to 6 different overloads, and my favorite one is indeed this. It has only one parameter and it is the data table. The data table that is inside the SQL Pro DS. This is SQL Pro, and after that the DS and SQL DS and SQL DS, and it is the student's DS. Currently I have a reference to the SQL DS. It is SQL DS1. So I can come over here and say me SQL DS1, SQL DS1 add dot and the student's data table. Indeed, I want to get the changes from the data table, the student's data table, easily and quickly. So the update method is really genius and is smart, and we'll get the changes. If I take a look over here from the data table, the new records, the edited records, and also the deleted record. And based on that, we'll generate the appropriate insert query for the new records, update query for the edited record, and also delete query for the deleted record. Then execute the query against the database, and everything will be saved inside the SQL database. So the main connector between the data table and the database is the table adapter. And as I mentioned previously, if I take a look over here inside the data table over here, I have the table adapter and come to the properties. As you see, I have the update query or update command for updating. Then I have the insert command for adding the new record, and also the delete command for deleting the records. The table adapter uses these queries to save back the changes inside the database. So come over here and come to this one. Now it looks great and amazing. If I take a look, yes. Now if I hover on the update, it has the return value. You can see it is as integer. The integer or return value is the number of saved records inside the database. So I can say dim r as integer, then say r equals. Over here, R is number of saved records inside the database. I can easily add the if statement and say if R greater than the 0. Show the message box to my user and say message box. This is message box show, and I can easily say saved and number of saved records. So let's say R to a string. R is integer, so select great idea to convert it to a string, then add it to the save. And after that, I can add the else structure over here. And let's copy this and paste it over here. And I can easily say not saved. Over here, not saved. Try again. Try again. And delete the R from here. And also let's copy this one and paste it over here, and let's select this and say error, and after that the ex message like this, the ex message easily and quickly. So it looks great and amazing. Also, for the sake of appearance, add some comment here and add the breakpoint over here, and let's start checking the codes. It's run. So let's add new record. You can see this -1. -1 means this is the new record. And also let's write A, or I can say C, double C, grade, and class. And I didn't assign any date of birth. So let's say after and edit, so go to the next one using the F10 and the R. If I take a look, R is 0. and the R is this one. If I take a look, let's be patient, the EX over here and continue. So the can't insert the null value into the column DOP or date of birth. It's really simple and obvious message. We can't assign any null value inside the DOP or date of birth. Previously, we talked about this matter, and if I take a look in the students and columns, you can see the date of birth can't be null or not null. So it is not null or can't be null. Now come over here, and this is the error message. Click OK. And the solution is really simple and straightforward. In the add no, if I click on the add no, I can easily assign the date for this as the default date. So come over here and come to this one. If I take a look at the first step, let's get the name. I need the name of the datetime picker. So let's close this one more time and open it from scratch. So its name is, if I check it, is date of birth DTP. I want to assign the date to the value of date of birth. So let's come over here and the new button. Where are you, new button? This is the new button, and I have all of this data over here. Let's add the next one and say me date of birth DTP. Which property? The value property. If I hover on the value property, it is the date. So I can come over here and say the date time, date and time. Where are you? Great. Dot now. And if I hover on the now, it is a kind of date. So we can assign it to this. And this is the current date of computer. Sometimes we need to assign the custom date. So I can come over here and say new, then date, and this is the new date, and add the parentheses. So I have up to 16 different overloads, and my favorite one is the number 4. It has the year, month, and the day. So the year is, for instance, 2005 at comma. It is the month. 3, it should be integer, so don't use, for instance, the 0 at the beginning like this. It is integer. So write 3, then add comma, and the day is 10 like this. Don't forget to close the parentheses. So it's done. Now if I save everything, let's run the application and let's see the result. And currently I have the breakpoint over here. So let's add new record, and it is VW, and the date is 3/10/2005, exactly what we add inside the code. So this is the grade, and also over here the mobile, and let's save it. So come to the next line, the R. Now the R is number 1. It means one record is saved inside the database, and the next one is saved 1, and after that go to the next line and finish. So this is the result. You can see the V is added over here, and also if I check, right click over here and execute set. So the V is added over here, you can see it. And after that, let's check the edits. So this is the V. I want to change it to something like the X. This is the X, and double X like this, easily and quickly. Now if I save, I can see the result. This is the result. Go to the next line. R is 1 and saved. So it's saved. Now if I see, it is X over here, and if I check the SQL server, execute, and it is the X over here. Now let's delete the X record entirely. So come over here, and this is the X, and delete that from here. This is deleted, and save it. So if I take a look, the R is 1, and the next one is 1 over here. The X is deleted from here, and also if I execute the query, So it's deleted from the database also. It means everything is working perfectly for adding, editing, and deleting the records. So my mission is accomplished successfully. Go ahead, open up your project and start writing the code for the save button. In the upcoming tutorial, I'll talk about how to write the code for the cancel buttons. Thanks and thanks goodness.